We launched the game like we always do, laughing, joking, not expecting much. But the second the main menu appeared, something about it felt wrong. The music wasn't just eerie, it was broken, distorted, like someone whispering through static. I remember leaning closer to the screen, almost convinced I heard my own name hidden in the noise. Everyone brushed it off, saying it was just part of the horror vibe, but deep down my chest felt tight. And that's when the game loaded the classroom. It looked just like ours. The same desks, the same chalkboard, even the flickering light above the teacher's desk that never seems to get fixed in real life. The detail was unsettling, almost too exact. We laughed nervously, joking that maybe the developers had been spying on us, but then we noticed something else. The game didn't let us choose characters. Instead, our classmates' names were already there, every single one of them. We froze. Each name matched perfectly, our friends, our classmates, even mine. I tried to laugh it off, but my voice cracked. How would a random game know everyone in our class? My stomach dropped as one of us scrolled through the list. There it was, every name, every face, and then we found the one name we didn't recognize. At first, we thought it was just a glitch. Maybe a fake NPC to make things scarier, but when the model loaded, it looked like a real student, a real person we'd somehow never seen before. They sat in the corner, head down, hands folded neatly on the desk, silent, not moving, just waiting. My heart was racing so fast I could hear it in my ears, and none of us said a word. And then the game text appeared at the bottom of the screen in red letters. Don't let them know who doesn't belong. That's when everything changed. None of us knew what to do. The classroom in the game was quiet, too quiet, like the air itself was holding its breath. We stared at the strange classmates sitting in the corner. Their face was blurry, like the game couldn't quite render it. But the longer we looked, the more it seemed to sharpen, like it was waiting for us to notice the details. And then someone whispered, "Does anyone know them?" We all shook our heads. Nobody recognized the name. Nobody recognized the face. That should have been comforting, but it wasn't. Because the longer they sat there, the more we started to feel like maybe they'd always been there. Like we just never noticed. That thought alone sent chills down my spine. The game gave us no instructions, no objectives, just the classroom, our classmates moving normally, chatting, laughing, while this one stranger sat motionless. It was almost more disturbing than if they'd jumped out at us. I leaned forward and clicked to interact. The screen glitched, the sound cut out, and suddenly the camera zoomed in on the stranger's desk. A text box appeared. "Why are you looking at me?" I swear, the room we were sitting in went silent at the exact same moment. All of us just froze. Nobody spoke. It felt like if we did, the game would somehow hear us. My palms were sweating, my throat dry. I clicked again. Another line of text appeared. "I've been here all along." One of my friends tried to laugh it off, saying it was a cheap scare. But their voice cracked halfway and none of us believed them. Then the lights in the classroom flickered both in the game and in our actual room. We screamed, we actually screamed. That's when panic started to creep in. The game kept going. Our classmates on screen turned, one by one, to face the stranger. Their faces didn't look normal anymore. Their eyes were too wide, their smiles too stiff. And then we noticed something horrifying. The stranger was slowly raising their head, and as they did, the game camera tilted on its own, pulling us closer. I don't know why I did it, but I reached out and tried to quit the game, clicked escape. Nothing happened. Alt plus F4, nothing. We were locked in. The game wasn't just running, it was holding us hostage. And then, right as the stranger finally lifted their face to look at us, the entire screen cut to black. For a moment we thought it crashed, but then, in the reflection of the black monitor, we realized there were more people in the room than when we started. At first, we thought we were imagining it, The reflection on the screen was faint, distorted by the glare of the lamp behind us, but I swear I counted more heads than there should have been. My chest tightened. There were 5 of us in the room, yet the reflection showed 6. No one wanted to say it out loud. It was like the moment you realize you're being watched, and suddenly every hair on your body stands on end. One of my friends, nervously laughing, turned around to prove it was just paranoia. He froze, his laugh cut short like someone had pressed mute. We all turned with him. Nothing. Just the same messy room, the same snacks on the table, the same pile of controllers. But the air felt heavier now, like the walls themselves were leaning in. When we turned back to the monitor, the game was no longer black. It was showing us our actual room, same angle, same lighting, even the snack wrappers were there. But in the game's version, we weren't 5 people. We were 6. The 6th sat at the back of the group, slightly out of focus, their face hidden in shadow. We all backed away from the screen at the same time, chairs screeching against the floor. My breathing turned shallow, and I tried to convince myself it was a pre-programmed trick. Some messed up ARG or webcam hack, but then one of my friends whispered, "Look at their hands," and we did. The figure in the game was resting their hands on their knees, pale, long fingers, and slowly, so slowly, they began to tap. A rhythm, 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, pause. The same sound echoed in our room, on the wall behind us. None of us dared move. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like the sound itself might give us away. Another friend hissed, "This has to be fake, right, right." But their voice cracked so badly it wasn't convincing anyone, not even themselves. I felt sweat roll down my neck as I turned back toward the monitor. That's when the game classroom reappeared. Only this time, the stranger wasn't sitting in the corner anymore. Their desk was empty. The message box appeared again. "You shouldn't have noticed me." Then the screen glitched, and for the briefest second, we saw something behind us on the monitor, not just in the game. Behind us in the reflection, we spun around nothing, empty space, but in that moment of silence, when all I could hear was my heart hammering, one thought hit me so hard it almost made me sick. What if one of us wasn't actually supposed to be here? Nobody wanted to say it, but the thought was spreading through all of us like poison. What if the stranger wasn't just in the game? What if they were here, sitting among us, pretending to be one of us? My skin crawled with the idea, but the more I tried to push it away, the more real it felt. One of my friends stood up suddenly, pacing, shaking their head. "No, no, this is just some messed up trick, a prank, some mod, it's not real." But their voice trembled, and when they glanced at each of us, it wasn't with trust. It was suspicion. Their eyes darted from face to face like they were counting us, like they were trying to remember who was supposed to be here. And then we all did it, counted each other, slowly, nervously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the number matched. 5 friends in the room, but something felt off, like the math worked, but the answer was wrong anyway. We turned back to the game. The classroom was darker now, like the lights had dimmed. All the student characters sat stiff, staring forward, their faces blank. Except one, the stranger was back, sitting calmly in the front row now, hands folded on the desk again, staring straight at us through the screen. A text box appeared, "One of you is lying." We froze. Nobody spoke. The silence dragged on, thicker and heavier with every second. Finally, one of my friends, nervous, sweaty, snapped. "It's you," he shouted, pointing at another. "You've been quiet this whole time. You're acting weird." The accused friend jumped up, panicking, denying it, their words tripping over themselves. We all shouted at once, the room spiraling into chaos. I could barely hear my own voice over the others. My hands shook so badly, I could barely keep them still. Then the game screen flashed red, and a distorted screech filled the speakers, making us all flinch. On screen, the classroom erupted into chaos too. Students standing, pointing, shouting at each other in glitchy, broken animations. The stranger just watched, head slowly tilting, as though enjoying the spectacle, and then the screen zoomed in on one desk. One student, their face warped and twisted, pixelated beyond recognition, until finally it dissolved into static. Their name in the roster flickered and vanished, deleted. We looked back at each other. 5 of us still stood in the room. But in the game there were only 4. No one wanted to say it, but the message was clear. One of us didn't belong. Do you want me to continue with Section 5, where the tension explodes into fear, mistrust, and the game starts bleeding into reality even more? You said, 5, ChatGPT said. Here's the full Section 5, about 7 minutes of creeping dread, paranoia, and intensifying horror, still in cinematic storytelling style, no headings or timestamps. We stared at the screen, unable to process what just happened. 4 students in the game, 5 of us in the room. My throat was dry, but I whispered it anyway. It deleted someone. The words made it real, and suddenly the tension in the room spiked like a knife pressed to our skin. Nobody wanted to look at each other, but we couldn't stop. Our eyes darted, scanning faces, searching for something wrong. Was someone's smile a little too forced? Was their breathing too calm? Were their eyes just a little too dark? My chest ached from how fast my heart was pounding. The game screen flickered again, pulling us back. The stranger was standing now. Their face was clearer than before, still uncanny, still wrong. It looked almost like someone we knew, but not quite. The details slipped through our minds like water. Too real to be a glitch, too wrong to be human. A text box appeared. Choose who doesn't belong. We all shouted at once, begging the game not to make us do it, clicking randomly, trying to exit, trying to shut the whole thing down. Nothing worked. The screen wouldn't budge. The game locked us in. It wanted an answer. And the longer we stalled, the darker the classroom grew, shadows crawling across the walls like they were alive. One of my friends snapped under the pressure. They turned on the rest of us, pointing, their voice shaking but loud. It's you. It's gotta be you. You've been acting weird since the start. The accused tried to defend themselves, swearing, panicking, insisting they were real, that they belonged here. But in the chaos, doubt spread like wildfire. The more they denied, the guiltier they looked. The game reacted. The classroom students all turned their heads toward the accused, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The text box flickered again, correct. The screen glitched violently, shrieking static filling the room. We covered our ears, but the sound vibrated through our skulls, rattling our bones. When it finally cut out, the game classroom was calm again. Only 3 students remained. We turned slowly. Our accused friend was still standing there, pale, shaking, clutching their chest. They swore they hadn't been deleted, that they were still here, but I swear something about them was different. Their voice echoed faintly, like a second version of it overlapped. Their reflection in the dark TV screen seemed delayed, moving a fraction of a second too slow. None of us wanted to admit it. None of us wanted to see it. But the game wasn't lying. One of us didn't belong. And maybe, just maybe, it had already chosen. The room was dead silent. No one breathed. No one moved. The only sound was the faint hum of the computer, and even that felt sinister now, like the machine itself was alive. We sat frozen, staring at our friend, the one the game had marked, as if any second they might flicker out of existence like the others. Then the classroom in the game shifted again. Only 3 students left on screen, sitting motionless at their desks. The stranger was gone, but the text box appeared one final time. You chose wrong. Our hearts dropped. The screen glitched violently, cycling through distorted images, our room, our faces, our reflections, all warped and stretched. I swear, for half a second, I saw myself staring back from the monitor, but my mouth was moving even though I wasn't speaking. It whispered something I couldn't hear, something the static swallowed whole. The speakers let out a low, deep hum that rattled the floor. The classroom desks in the game began to vanish one by one until only a single chair remained. Slowly, the camera panned toward it. Empty, waiting, then in the corner of the screen a new roster appeared, not of game characters, of us. Our names, each one flickering as though deciding who to erase next. We screamed, tried everything, unplugged the PC, yanked cords, slammed the power switch. Nothing worked. The monitors stayed lit, the game running, the roster pulsing. One of the names finally stopped flickering. Highlighted mine, I felt ice run through my veins, a massive defense spending as a burden, eyes wide, like they weren't sure if I was still me. My hands shook so hard I dropped the controller. The screen flashed, the sound cut, and for a terrifying moment, everything went pitch black. Then silence, the game was gone. The computer was off, like it had never even been running. We all stood there, gasping for air, staring at each other, unsure of what just happened. No extra classmate, no distorted names, just us again, 5 friends. But here's the thing: every time we tell this story, every time we count who was in the room that night, the number never feels right. Was it 5 or 6? Or maybe one of us was never real to begin with. Safe to say, we're never opening that game at night again. At least, not unless you want to find out which one of your classmates doesn't belong.